talk about how sometimes we feel like we just don't have enough time in the day. And a lot of that sort of comes from unnecessary pressure that we put on ourselves. And it's so easy to feel like you have to say yes to everything that comes your way, every event, every social hangout, and that you need to fit as much as possible during the day. But honestly, that's not always feasible. And when we make all these plans for our day, it is so easy for them to start spilling over and then go into complete panic mode because we're so overwhelmed. A way Riddhi and I have both learned how to get through this is by practicing how to say no and valuing our own time and priorities, which is why I think saying no is such a valuable skill. So I feel like with each passing day, I realize the value of time more and more. And I don't know if that's because I'm getting older or wiser or maybe both, but that realization is definitely really dawning upon me each day. So there are some days where I'll have so much going on and I'll have events back to back along with working. And a lot of times it'll be things that I don't even really want to go to. So learning how to say no has been really good for my mental health. And trust me, I know it can feel kind of rude to say no sometimes, especially if they're your friends. But something that I've noticed just really works well for me is being honest and candid with my friends. So if I don't feel like hanging out, I just kind of tell them like, hey, I'm not in the headspace or I'm just not in the mood to hang out. And I'll let them know well in advance. And honestly, most of the times I feel like they understand. And since most of my friends and I were out of university and full-time jobs with personal responsibilities, I feel like they understand where I'm coming from because I know a lot of times my friends also feel that way. I have friends who have social batteries and who've told me and communicated with me that their social batteries die out after a certain period. And you know what? That's okay. I understand that. So the fact that we have this mutual understanding is something I think that really helps in saying no. Of course, if you have friends who don't really understand that, yeah, it's gonna be hard to say no. And I think you should kind of reevaluate why you're friends with them. Your friends should understand your needs and shouldn't judge you for that.
So when it comes to FOMO, I think it's a really common thing a lot of people struggle with, but some people take it to like a whole different extreme where they struggle with it so much that they have a hard time just saying no to things and struggling when to figure out what is worth their time and what should be a priority in their lives. For example, some people I know, if you try to like make plans with them or if I try to ask them if they're free to hang out, even if they have like 5 plans already that day with like 5 different people, they'll struggle to say no and not want to cancel on anyone else either because they really want to try to please everyone, make sure that they're not missing out on any of the fun. So I think that's where FOMO really comes from, is just not wanting to miss out on some fun or worrying that if you don't go to an event or if you don't go somewhere that they're gonna have the best time of their lives and you're gonna be left out and wish you had gone and have regrets later. So it's really important that when you are saying no to things and when you are trying to prioritize and learning where you want to spend your energy, that you aren't too hard on yourself about having regrets later, because not everything can be done in one day and we all only have 24 hours in a day at the end of the day. So having regrets is something that just leaves you feeling worse and makes you less likely to make time for yourself in the future because you know that you didn't feel good about missing out this one time. And FOMO is something to feel really bad over really easily, especially when people are inviting you to things and you really have to pick and choose what's a priority in your life and what things you can make time for and realistically how much you can handle in a day. And it's something that I've definitely gotten better at as well, knowing when to say no to things, knowing when to not have regrets about not having gone to something or not having done what someone asked of me. So I really encourage you guys, if you are struggling with FOMO or if you're prone to feeling like that you make an active effort to not be so hard on yourself later and keep wishing you had gone or keep wishing you had done the thing, and try to avoid that feeling of regret, because At the end of the day, you made the decision that was best for you in the moment, and maybe they did have a lot of fun and maybe the thing did look really cool, but there's going to be a lot of cool things in the future, and making time for your priorities and what's important to you should really be of utmost importance. And overall, it's just really important to make time for self-care and time for your own mental and physical health. Because if you can't take care of yourself and your body and your mind and your soul, then how are you going to have an effective connection with someone else and be able to give people the type of energy that you want to give? For me personally, I've recently tried to get more straightforward and more honest with people about when I'm canceling or when I'm saying no to something to make time for myself, rather than just saying I'm busy, but I still do that sometimes. Because I feel like the more I start owning up to the time I need alone or the time I need for my self-care and show people that that's a priority to me, the better I feel about taking that time for myself, and the better I feel about not letting others' expectations get in the way of what I need for myself. So for example, if someone asks to hang out on a Friday night, but I really just want to be alone, or I really just want to unwind and have a relaxing, chill night in, most of the time I won't say, oh, I'm busy, or oh, I already have plans, to try to get out of it, unless I already do. So I'll usually try to be a little honest about, oh, I just had a busy week, I need time for myself, or oh, I kind of just want to spend time by myself and stay in tonight. And that really has been helping me kind of own up to my needs and feel good about them and feel good about myself as a result.
And of course, it's really hard to quantify these things and to manage these things because we're all humans, we're not perfect, we all have our natural tendencies. But I really think it's important to think about how you're projecting yourself and how you're making yourself available to other people, because there might come a day where you just don't have it in you to be functioning at that 120%, but you've created those expectations, and more likely than not, your friends or your family members are going to be kind of surprised or taken aback as to why you're not the way you were. So I think it's really important to find that balance where you think you can sustain yourself. Of course, relationships are so important, which is why I think it's very important to have realistic expectations and create those realistic expectations for your friends and family.
And again, self-care can look different for everyone. For me, usually that's just spending like a Friday night or a weekend night alone and just drinking a cup of tea, making some hot chocolate, reading a good book, listening to a podcast or some good music, and just unwinding and spending that quality time with myself, and not having to, get ready, get dressed, go somewhere, or have to necessarily converse with someone. And that's because I'm a little more introverted. So for me, alone time is a really good way to recharge and refresh. So for other people who are maybe more extroverted or who recharge differently, that might not look the same, and alone time might not work for them. But that's just what works for me. So in the past year or so, I've definitely made that more of a priority in my daily life, and not just on the weekends, but also just a part of my daily routine, to make sure that every day I'm doing something, no matter how small and no matter how minor, to take care of myself and just be kind to myself and make sure that my mental and physical health is getting the attention that it needs.
Time is so precious and valuable, and I think we need to keep reminding ourselves that setting time for ourselves is not selfish, it is not a crime, I promise you. It's okay to take a step back and not always be engaged with your friends or family members. I know for me, not looking at my phone or not checking my phone in the mornings is a form of self-care, because I get really distracted by my phone, I'll be honest, and if I see a message or if I see something come through, I'm really tempted to respond to it. And before I know it, I'm engaged in a conversation I did not want to be in. So in the mornings, I love waking up. I love enjoying the sunrise. I love that time to myself. And if I go on my phone, even for 5 minutes, that time is just gone because now I'm sucked into it. So for me, being present in my mornings is something that's really important to me. So I have that boundary set. And a lot of my friends who are close to me know that I'm probably not going to respond in the morning for the first few hours, and that's something that's really important to me. And of course, if there's an emergency, I will be available for my friends. But if it's not an emergency, my mornings are just for me and they're very important. And also not being on my phone in the mornings really helps me manage my time. So I'm not the best at time management. I'm really working on it and I hope I get better in the future, but I can procrastinate something till the very last minute. And that's something I'm not super proud of, but the mornings are probably my most productive time as well. So I get my most work done in the few hours in the morning. So having that form of self-care is also kind of helps me manage my time. So it's kind of like hitting two birds with one stone.
All of this is obviously only possible if you're effective at managing your time, and that looks different for everyone, and everyone is at different places and different skill levels with time management. And it's a really hard thing to master, especially if you're in a busier stage of your life or in a busier job or your days look really hectic. For example, time management was a very hard thing for me and for a lot of people around me in college to figure out, because we were always either in class or we were in meetings or we were doing homework or studying. So there was really little time to prioritize our needs and prioritize our self-care, and what little free time we did have, we were usually hanging out with other people. So now that I have a little more control over my schedule and a little more flexibility, especially working from home, it's definitely made it a lot easier for me to carve out that time right after working hours or just during a lunch break or in the mornings before my day starts, to make that time for myself, because I have a more clear-cut schedule now and I'm not constantly lining my days up and lining my hours up back to back with stuff. But of course, if you don't work like a traditional 9-to-5 job where you have that cutoff hour where you can log off and just separate your work from the rest of your life, it takes a little more effort to find that time in your day and find those couple hours or even couple minutes on some days that you can spend for yourself. So really try to figure out how your schedule works and how you can kind of fix it and take control of it a little bit to prioritize these needs and prioritize your wellness. But another thing I'll say with that is that I'm someone who really likes to be busy and have a lot of things to do and do a lot of projects and take on a lot of things at once, just in my daily life. So it's something that I have figured out works for me in order to keep me going and keep me motivated and inspired throughout my day. But it also means that I have to be very strict with myself sometimes when I do have those really busy days and I do have a lot of things on my to-do list. And what works for me for time management the most is having like a Google Calendar or just any sort of time blocked schedule where I can plan out my days hour by hour and figure out how much time each task is going to take and have a set time in the day assigned to that. So I know that it's not just a random thing on my to-do list, but I have a dedicated time assigned to that. So this type of scheduling is called time blocking, and it really works well for me, and I've been using it for years. But I've also heard for some people it stresses them out a little bit. So just maybe try it out or see if that works for you depending on your needs. So we hope you guys enjoyed this video and took some things away about our experiences with things like FOMO, self-care, time management, and setting boundaries. And it's something that we've worked on for a long time to figure out how to prioritize these things for ourselves. And hopefully you guys can learn to do the same if you're struggling with something like this, because at the end of the day, our relationship with ourselves is the most important one. And it's our longest relationship we're gonna have our whole life. So it's really important to invest that time in ourselves and taking care of ourselves. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.